Coming up next on the CHGO Cubs podcast presented by Toyota, Shota Imanaga is a free agent. Is the breakup forever? What's the next step if the Cubs and Imanaga might have a little makeup? Or we're also going to give out his CHGO Cubs report card. You got grades? Everybody got grades? We got grades. We got grades for him. Highly anticipated. Plus, bye-bye, kitty cat. Kittredge is gone. Meow. CHGO Cubs heating up fast and furious next. Hey, Chicago, what do you say? It's the CHGO Cubs podcast driven by our friends at Toyota. Let's go places. So long, Shota. The honeymoon is over. What's next? Maybe a reunion, maybe new pitchers, maybe saving money. Kitty cat gone too. Baseball's been crazy today. We're going to talk about all of it, plus our report card for Mr. Imanaga as well. Luke Stuckmeyer here with Joey Christopolous and four-time now Emmy winner Justin Roman. It's Tuesdays with Roman.
Oh, I love that.
A shiny new Emmy award sitting at home. Not yet. Did you get it yet? You know, or you have to wait for the delivery.
Yeah, it has to be engraved. But like that's the intro I want every single week now. Like from here on out. Like I love that.
We should start anytime you're here. We should start the show with we have more Emmys than any Cubs podcast in America.
Run with that. Absolutely.
Or around the world, and then we should throw in national commercials and Netflix appearances.
Yes.
There you go.
Right?
I want to be Subway free sandwich winner from getting a 10-punch card.
That's
Joey
right.
Christopolous. It's a mouthful, but I earned it.
Oh. And throw in jump smokers and worldwide.
We are a superstar Cubs podcast.
That's why we're the most popular, fun-loving, best Cubs podcast out there. All right, so we'll get to it. Here's the deal. Shota is a free agent. How did it all happen? We'll get to his report card. Kittredge, all right, I'll knock off the Kittredge thing. Okay. Really, he had a $9 million option. The Cubs decided to trade him back to Baltimore, who I would assume will pick up the $9 million option. Yeah. They get cash considerations back, so they get some money back after trading for Kittredge at the trade deadline. He pitched in 5 playoff games for the Cubs, and he cost them their number 19 prospect, Wilfred De La Cruz, he's a 17-year-old shortstop.
Right, lottery ticket. We'll see.
A lottery ticket. So basically, it was a brief rental for Kitty Cat, who was a little bit older, but now that's another spot you got to fill in the bullpen. Imanaga is the much bigger hole if he is gone.
Yes.
Okay. This is an onion. Layer 1 of the onion was the Cubs deciding, what are we going to do with this 3-year, $57 million option?
Well, coming into this year, I think we can all agree it was a no-brainer. Pick it up. It's a value.
Seemed like a yes, for sure. Right. First of all, it's a creative deal. I like the deal in general that it gave you these options because you weren't locked into 3 years, $57 million moving forward if you didn't want to be. So I would even argue that even at the midway point of the season, it seemed like a no-brainer. So they say no. Also, remember, it would kick in a no-trade clause for those final 3 years. That shouldn't be lost. You got him at $57 million, and he's going nowhere.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay? Then Shota has the option to take his player option. So that's like $15 million to pitch for. Well, he's worth more than $15 million. Right. So he's like, no. So those two, I think, were fairly obvious once the end of the season came along.
Yes. That
those two were going to happen. Now we have this window where the Cubs he is a free agent technically, but free agents can't sign until Thursday. And the Cubs can make him a qualifying offer up until Thursday. Okay. That qualifying offer would be $22 million just for next year.
Right.
Okay? If he says no, they get draft compensation. If he says yes, they get him for $22 million. They only get the draft compensation if he goes and signs with another team. So even after he would say no to $22 million, the Cubs still could sign him to another deal, no draft compensation. It'll just be less than $357.
Right.
Now, know that like 14 out of 150 players recently have said, yeah, take your qualifying offer and stick it.
Take your $22 million and stick it.
Right. And so with a possible work stoppage after next season, that seems likely too. So I think the next step will be the Cubs will make the qualifying offer because they can at least get compensation, which they love. Or they can then look at it and say, well, he'll probably say no like everybody else. If we get him for $22 million, bonus.
Right.
If we don't get him for $22 million in 1 year, then we could work out something with him. Maybe. If not, okay. Are you surprised by any of today's activities leading up to this point?
At the end of the season, this version of me, not surprised at all. Again, halfway through the season, I thought it was a lock that this 3-year deal for $57 million was a value, was a steal. Shota was an ace-type pitcher all of last season and half of this season. So that was it is creative, this contract, because it does protect you as a team of like, this is a no-brainer until halfway through the season. So am I surprised? No. I mean, this is a guy who, was a solid co-ace for us last year, handed the ball this year as our ace, and then we couldn't trust him in a game 5 of an elimination game. The writing was on the wall. Something was up. Injury, tipping pitches, just figuring out what he does. I think that it's not a surprise if you watch the playoffs. He didn't show up like we wanted him to.
Yeah, life moves pretty fast, right? What the Ferris Bueller quote there, and to be honest with you, just as a Cubs fan, I just want to start off by saying this is a bit of a sad day for me. I think Shota was easily a fan favorite, a guy that came over to the States. Became an all-star in his first year. Heading into this year, he was singing in the shower and promoting Cubs baseball.
Favorite commercials.
Those commercials. We need those commercials to stay.
As the kids say, he had sick drip every time he walked up to Wrigley Field.
He was in the shower.
You'd sing "Go Cubs Go," and yeah, life moves pretty fast. And over the course of 6 or 7 weeks of baseball, he literally has pitched himself probably out of a Chicago Cubs uniform. What's interesting about Luke, when you laid out the contract, there's 2 things that really jump out to me. The first one that jumps out to me is, remember when he signed that deal, there were so many different machinations and different levers in the contract that you had to give the Cubs credit for being as creative as they were, that provided them so many different avenues and options. And then the second part is that no trade clause. And I think maybe that has more to do with, we don't want to pay this player an X amount of dollars. We just want to get out of the business of, if we are going to pay Shota Imanaga an X amount of money, we want to have the flexibility to at least be able to move him if we want to. In terms of that creativity, the other sadness that I'm feeling in general is that I think they maybe, when they first signed that deal, I think both sides were hoping by the end of that second year there would be an extension talk because things were going so great here in Chicago and he was pitching so well. And it was trending in that direction until he popped a 6.51 ERA in September, gave up 10 home runs in 27 2/3 innings, and then Justin, as you said, became unusable in the playoffs. And this is where we're at. I don't know where it's going from here, but just in this moment as we're starting the conversation, I feel sadness because I've always enjoyed watching Shota pitch.
Definitely one of the most popular players on the Cubs. Started with his press conference when he started singing "Go Cubs Go," right?
Chicago, what do you say? It was awesome.
Yeah, it was
everyone loved him.
And we want players to embrace Chicago, and there's a certain other player that played right field for this that we kept kind of hoping and praying that he would embrace Chicago, and maybe his personality wasn't aligned to us maybe getting what we wanted. But Shota Imanaga, you can't take away, loved being here in the city, and there was times that we loved having him in a Cubs uniform.
Other guys that we're not sure about what they're doing, like you mentioned Tucker. I still think there's a window to where he becomes a Cub at least next year.
Sure.
Maybe a little bit longer than that, but he doesn't want 1 year, $15 million. No. Somebody out there will likely look at him and say, They're letting him go because his last 6 starts, he gave up 12 home runs and his ERA was a 6 in his last 35 innings. That seems a little short-sighted. Now, the Cubs fan that doesn't want to see Shota go will look at it and say, what are they doing? Like, this team was desperately short on pitching, especially starting pitching down the stretch. It was one of the things that absolutely sank them. and yet they're going to let their best and most dependable pitcher for 2 years outside of a stretch.
Right.
But if you look at 2 years and say who's been their most dependable best pitcher, it's Shota. They're going to let that guy go for $3 for $57 million. Now, don't forget the no trade clause, and don't forget the way it finished, and don't forget that there's a work stoppage probably coming. All those things. So I get it. Like I said here, I would hang on to him in some way, shape, or form because I think they need to be adding pitching. Okay, and while I don't think he's a 1 or a 2 moving forward, because I do put some value in the end of what we have seen, maybe not enough for me to say we don't need that guy.
Right.
But I can use that guy as my 5th starter. I can use that guy as my 4th starter. I can use that guy at the right price for different roles. I can't value him as an opening day starter again in my eyes. But like there are ways I could still see that he ends up saying, I like Chicago. I saw somebody on Twitter saying right away, he's going to the Dodgers. He's going to pitch with
Shohei and Yamamoto and
Roki, and he's going to end up on that team, and it's going to be an all-Japanese team before it's all said and done. It's like, listen, $57 million would be nothing for the Dodgers to take that gamble, especially if he defers all of it until, 2075.
They'll pay him $1 million for next year, and then like the rest is all like for.
But I really think that the Dodgers will go even bigger fish than that. Like if you wanted to look at Shota and say, hey, he could fill our Kershaw role next year. I guess that works. It's not really a gamble for them. You're only saying, what if it was a hamstring injury? That's when he really was bad, was after the hamstring injury. So there is a risk to letting him go. For me, it's all about what is he worth to you? And if you're saving the money, what are you going to use it on?
Yeah, wouldn't you rather?
Or who are you going to use it on?
Wouldn't you rather allocate those dollars for someone like Dylan Cease and bump that pot up a little bit? I would argue too, like again, I think the Cubs front office knows Shota Imanaga better than we do, better than anybody, right? Is it the injury? Is it tipping pitches? I feel like they would know. I feel like they probably have a great sense of this stuff. And again, this is a guy we couldn't depend on for a game. Full rest for a Game 5 elimination, do or die, and Counsell chose to go elsewhere.
That was the tipping point.
Yeah, and so it's like, okay, well, they might know something here. And, again, nice guy. I think was a great character for Chicago. He embraced the city. I love all those things. But your feelings and your heart can't get in the way of business decisions. And, Luke, you're right. I don't think it's just money. I think it's a no-trade clause. I think it's, a bad Shota Imanaga. Don't we have someone like a Javier Assad that could kind of do that for way cheaper, and then those dollars can go to Dylan Cease? There's flexibility. We have some arms, and I just think the writing was on the wall. Game 5 against Milwaukee.
Yeah, and another one of the factors too was also he had a 7.20 ERA in the first inning of games. Everything else was very, very, very
an opener.
It was very, very, very Shota-like the rest of the way. Is that another issue too? And I see Gary Ross in the chat. What's up, Gary? Good to see you in the Cubs chat, buddy. Saying Shota to the Padres now. I also joked before this too, as well as you also have the wrong California team. This is also like tailor-made for the Angels to go 3 years, $54 million, and be like, "Ooh, we got this big former All-Star starter or a big acquisition heading into the year." I hear this, and a lot of people right now are having an emotional reaction to it. The only thing that I would say is that, again, I also hopped on socials this morning. A lot of people in the Cubs universe are taking these victory laps because they said weeks ago that we should get rid of Shota, and that we were right all along. I can understand that based on his postseason performance. I don't think that's the hottest take on the planet. But here's the reality of this is we're sitting into this show today in this moment, which can change moving forward in the future. Getting rid of Shota Imanaga has made the Cubs worse. Just today. For today alone on its face. Getting rid of Andrew Kittredge and Shota Imanaga, the Cubs are worse today. The question is now, what do they do to either use that money or bring in other players to make the Cubs better? That's the part of the trade that we always talk about with Jed is there's two shoes to drop, right? One is getting rid of a player. The other one is always who's coming in to replace said player to make the Cubs better. That is the question.
And he is technically a free agent, but he is not technically gone from the Cubs. Right. Gary says, by the way, you Darvish out for the year. They'll keep Cease. They'll sign Shota.
Announced.
We'll see how that all unfolds. We're going to dig way deeper into this Shota stuff. We're going to give him his report card for the year. If it is his final report card for the Cubs, maybe, maybe not. Let us know what you think about what you would give Shota Imanaga, maybe on the way out. But first, a word from our sponsors on the CHGO Cubs podcast. Hey, Cubs fans, pay attention. Toyota has 25 vehicles with available all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive. Snow is on the way. The RAV4 has legendary versatility. The Grand Highlander's adult-sized third row is for real. And the Tacoma's wild side comes standard. From job sites to campsites and game nights, there's an all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive Toyota to get you there in style. Find yours at Toyota.com or visit your Chicago Toyota dealer before the cold weather arrives. Toyota, let's go places. What a time it is to be a CHGO diehard. So upgrade your fandom today if you haven't already. Get access to our exclusive written content, a free t-shirt, plenty of discounts on future merch and events, plus access to our CHGO Discord lounge where everybody hangs out and talks Chicago sports and more. Go to allchgo.com for the latest information on how you can join the thousands of diehards already in our community. We can't wait to connect with you on an even greater level.
We also want to tell you about the Chicago Sports Network. It's the official TV and streaming home of the Blackhawks, Bulls, and White Sox, broadcasting over 300 live games per year. CHSN offers the All Access Pass. It's $29.99 a month. That gives you access to all games and programming on the network, and individual team plans at $19.99 a month. That gives you access to the games of the team that you select. You can sign up to watch CHSN at chsn.com, or you can watch via the CHSN app, which can be downloaded on Apple and Android devices, Amazon Fire TV, Roku, and Samsung TV. CHSN is also available on Xfinity, DirecTV, also DirecTV Stream, and also Fubo. So visit chsn.com for more details to check out all the action of Blackhawks, Bulls, and White Sox. Remember, they're broadcasting over 300 live games per year. You could either do $29.99 a month for all of them or $19.99 for the team of your choice. chsn.com.
Back on the CHGO Cubs podcast, Shota Imanaga is a free agent. Cubs can still make him a qualifying offer until Thursday, to which he has, if they make that offer, he would have until the 18th to decide whether or not he wants to take it. So he could just, if the Cubs make that offer before Thursday, then at free agency, he can say, listen, can I shop for a better deal for a couple weeks? Mm-hmm. See what's out there, or I could take the $22 million.
And we all think the Cubs are going to offer that qualifying offer, right?
I mean, Gary's saying no. I think it's debatable. I would personally make it just because I don't think he's going to accept it.
Agreed. Yeah. Well,
14 of like 150 have done it.
Yeah.
Is it a risk? Yeah, but it's a $22 million risk for a guy that could go anywhere from your number 3 starter to your number 5 starter to your swing man to a lot. Yes, you'd be overpaying, but how much did you overpay Kyle Hendricks for a year, right? Yeah. Like, I don't think it's as big of a gamble as that. He's 32 now. Right. So who are some of the other names, guys that did, let's say, 1 year, $22 million? In 2023, the Giants gave Carlos Rodon 1 year, $22 million.
Okay.
Syndergaard from the Angels in 2023, 1 year, $21 million.
Woof.
Nick Martinez, 2025, accepted his qualifying offer. Walker Buehler in 2025 from Boston, 1 year, $21 million.
Man.
Now, an injured Walker Buehler versus a Shota for 1 year, 2020. That's why I say it's not crazy.
Yeah.
Right? It's just not. Max Scherzer, who I said, why not roll the dice? Mm-hmm. He was 1 year, $15.5 million. For instance, would you rather go to Scherzer and say, we'll give you 1 year, $16 million next year, versus rolling the dice with Shota on a qualifying offer, possibly accepting it? That's the type of stuff they're probably mixing around and throwing around. Charlie Morton, 1 year, $15 million for Atlanta last year. Frankie Montas, 1 year, $16 million for Cincinnati in 24. Jack Flaherty, another guy that I said, listen, you're sleeping on this. It's not too expensive. Pitching's expensive. 2024, the Tigers gave Jack Flaherty 1 year, $14 million. Now that sounds like a pretty good deal compared to 1 year Shota at 22, right? So Kyle Gibson, 24 from the Cardinals, 1 year, $13 million, and Kershaw last year, 1 year, $20 million. So that's why I say that's an apples to apples comparison of what sort of is the market out there. But remember, Jed Hoyer is the one that admitted his mistake to us after the end of the season and said, listen, I didn't think that it was going to be that expensive to trade for starting pitching, and it leads me to believe you're going to have to go get it in free agency and build that before the season because it's just too costly when you get to the deadline. Okay, well, you've got one that's possibly floating away from you. I'm not saying he's not worth it or is worth it. I'm not saying they should or shouldn't make the qualifying offer, although I kind of feel like they should.
Yeah.
But here's another one. So I was looking at, all right, who else is like sort of on that list that you're looking around and saying, and I looked down and I said, you know who else declined his option just like Shota did? Shota's was $15 million. But Brandon Woodruff turned down his $20 million option from the Brewers. Here's another guy that's only pitched like 23 games since 2023, or 23 innings, I think. It's like it's a really low number. He came back in July, but he had some really good starts before getting hurt with a different injury in September. Didn't pitch against the Cubs, right? Let's say, okay, so he turned down $20 million for next year. If you're a team out there and you're saying to yourself, I'm going to give $25 million, or I'm going to give 2 years, whatever, 36 to Shota, or I'm going to give it to Brandon Woodruff, who's been heavily injured, but also was in, both guys were in Cy Young races. They got votes in Cy Young voting. Like, which guy's more worth it?
They're different kinds of pitchers. And that's the thing.
Totally different. He was still striking guys out, Woodruff.
And that's the thing that someone earlier in the comments, and I'm sorry I lost it here, but said about the fact that, right there, late giving 2.051. How do you value upside is the question. Do you really want a 4.55 ERA Cease or a possible 2.95 Shota if he's right? Two different pitchers. Dylan Cease looks like an ace. Maybe not all the time, but he sure did against us in the playoffs. The guy he's the top of rotation power arm that you want. Shota Imanaga, even when things were going right, was never a power arm. Did never look like that top of rotation type of guy. He was always very, very good for us. And even last year, he was more of a co-ace with Justin Steele. Never like the ace you had starting game one of the World Series, let's say. So, Brandon Woodruff, I would say his stuff is more electric, more power than Shota Imanaga. I say the same thing about Dylan Cease. So you're comparing pitchers. Shota got by last year and had a phenomenal year. Was there a little bit of like, hitters hadn't seen him before, and he's, now they're kind of figuring him out a little bit. Did he come back down to earth? He just doesn't strike me as the kind of guy that's your number one World Series starter, top of rotation stuff. And again, Jed Hoyer at the press conference talked about, oh man, the trade deadline was so expensive. We're probably going to have to spend more on the offseason on pitching. Even with that knowledge, he still was like, we're not picking up a 3-year option.
That's it.
What does that tell you? He knows better than we do. And it's just, they may settle on a lower thing, possibly, you're right. But like, I would trust the fact that he knows he's got to spend in the offseason, and he's still not going to spend that on Shota.
The hope is, right, that Jed is being proactive and seeing it ahead a little bit and trying to say, I want to roll this rotation over with a mixture of hopefully Cade Horton, maybe a Jackson Wiggins. Who knows about Justin Steele? And let's see where we're at as we roll it over with Shota, Boyd, and Tyone over the next 2 or 3 seasons. When you talk about Shota, for one, I think he wants to say to himself, I could take the qualifying offer at $22 million, but if I'm his agent, his agent's got to be worth his salt and say, I can get you at least 34 to 38 on the open market on a multi-year deal. When you mention guys like, I'm sorry, what was the guy that you mentioned that was a possibility?
Well, Woodruff, but Flaherty was 1 for 14 2 years ago. Walker Buehler was 1 for 21 last year.
Yeah. That was all a talent buy for sure of like a high ceiling. Woodruff, I would be interested in. I think it would probably have to be a structure similar to what they did with Shota, about some opt-outs and some options and maybe a 2-year deal, because you're kind of getting into this mode of, do we look at now like a Merrill Kelly? Do we look at a Chris Bassett? My concern as a Cubs fan, my hope is that we were going to go out and get one big fish to add to the rotation. Yep. Now I think we need to get a big fish, and we probably need to spend some money on the back end to get some veteran assurances. I'm not buying necessarily that the Cubs are going to do that. I could easily see the Cubs, fingers crossed still, that they went out and got a big name, whether it is a Valdez or whether it is a Cease. They roll out there with Cade Horton. They roll out there with Matthew Boyd and Jamison Tyone, and then they just bring Colin Ray back on $5 million. Like, I understand that Colin Ray pitched well last year. I just didn't like it as much as having Shota as your 5th starter at that, $15, $18 million.
Exactly. Like, that you have to be looking ahead. I hope Jed is 4 steps ahead in this chess game. That's what it is. It's chess pieces with dollar amounts set to him. And one thing the Cubs have shown us, at least so far, until we see differently this offseason, is they don't want big multi-year deals with a work stoppage possibly coming after next season. Like, now Shota's is off the table, so 3 for 57. That part of it is gone, right? So the only guy they're going to have on their team with large multi-years still left on the deal when that would come would be Dansby.
Right.
So, like, if they believe this is fully coming, and that leads you to say, okay, how many of these pitchers, whether it's Woodruff, whether it's Shota, whether it's Scherzer still out there, or any of these other guys, Flaherty, all of them are thinking to themselves, I got to get multiple years right now before there's any sort of talk about salary caps and salary floors or any of that other stuff that's going to be discussed here when the time comes up. The players want multi-years. The teams are fearing multiple years. Now, the Cubs ought to be able to handle some of this.
And maybe the market comes to them for that reason.
That's right. Like, so if they are moving on from Shota completely, and they're saying, well, we'll take the comp pick back, or we won't, and we'll just walk away, and it's 57 gone, and he gave us 2 good years, and we can take that $57 million, and then we can take the $9 million from Kittredge, and then we can take Tucker's money, and we can turn those 3 into Cease for 4 years, or whomever, or that turns into Schwarber money, and we're counting on this.
Right.
Those are the chess pieces. That's why I'm not willing to say it's crazy to move on from Shota. That's why I'm not willing to say they should 100% bring him back at whatever.
Right.
We don't know what the market is going to hold. We don't know what chess pieces will continue. Not everybody knew that you would see Darvish out. Like, how does that impact what they do with Cease in San Diego? I don't know.
And Michael King, too, as well, who also decided to opt out. Yeah.
So all those pieces are on the table. It's just crazy that today we're sitting here on a Tuesday and, man, chess pieces are moving around. And I'm getting dizzy looking at who's going where because there's so many options for the way this could play out. But the Cubs have shown us so far they don't want guaranteed money on multi-year deals. It's not necessarily just that Shota was 3 for 57. It's the finish, it's the 57, and it is 100% the no trade clause, which they already have locked into Ian Happ for just this year coming up, and also Seiya Suzuki for this year coming up. But think of all the money that could be piling off the books for the Cubs after next season if they do nothing. The thing that scares any Cubs fan right now, Joey, is, are they just saving money? See, like, what if the payroll goes from 210 down to 160?
You can't. Look. This is where you get in trouble, though, right? Is that the Cubs have put themselves in truly an advantageous position with everything that you've just laid out with money coming off the books. And I'm not saying this is the deepest free agent class in the world, but I do see some players that are definitely some impact guys that I think that you could buy in on multi-year deals that can help you out for the next 4 or 5 years. The last thing that you want to do, in my opinion, is have all that money clear off, and then the smoke of the labor strife clears away, and it's clear skies and it's sunny skies, and the Cubs have $98 million on their payroll. Because guess what? That's when you spend bad money. Yeah. That's when you start throwing money around and you put yourself in a position of, I'm going to spend it on Edwin Jackson, or I'm going to spend it on.
No, don't do
I'm just saying. That's when you spend it on stuff that is only readily available to you that offseason. You have to pick and choose, and I'm not saying you have to sign 10 guys this offseason, but you do probably need to pick off 2 or 3 prime guys from this class and each year continue to build it as stuff rolls over. If you do that, you have put yourself in a nice position of, hey, we spent a ton of money this offseason. We got a ton of money coming off the next year. And it kind of continues to roll over that way. But you can't just clear it all out. So in 2027, we're like, oh, there's a new salary cap. We have $120 million to spend in 1 year, and then you spend it on garbage.
A couple years ago,
do that.
A couple years ago, you would have looked and said, oh, they're clearing the books for Ohtani.
Right.
Well, we know that's not the way they're going. We know that's not the way.
Right.
So is it scary for Cubs fans to see a pitcher that has value disappointed you at the end of the year moving away from that? I don't know. I think it's the no trade clause. I think it's the work stoppage. I don't know if they're 100% making it. I would make them the qualifying offer. Yeah. Because when you talked about, okay, what's guaranteed in the right now, you just took Kittredge out of the bullpen. You might be taking Tucker off the table, and you might be taking Shota, your most dependable guy for a year and a half, 2 years, off the table. What's guaranteed? What's certain about next year? Okay, Cade Horton, we expect to be really good. You can't have anything certain about Steele yet. You can't.
Right. But you Boyd and Tyone, I would feel
Boyd, you hope his arm bounces back, and Tyone okay, so I have 3 starters. That wasn't enough. We've already noticed that, like, those 3 starters, well, what if something happens to one of them? What if one of them doesn't bounce back? What if? You have to have all of these guys. So it's like, I thought they needed 2 starters. Now you might need 3. If you've really said goodbye to Shota, you might need 3 starters. We'll talk about that and the report cards and the moves coming up. Are you worried about the Cubs not spending any of the Shota money? Let us know in the live YouTube chat here on the CHGO Cubs podcast.
Hey, Chicago sports fans, whatever the sport, the app to bet is Circa Sports Illinois. It's Circa Sports. It's sports betting the way it should be. And at Circa Sports Illinois, they have high betting limits, low holds, and exceptional customer service. So right now, you can bet on all your favorite teams in every game this season. Bears, are they going to make the playoffs? Are they going to win this week against the Giants? Bulls, Blackhawks in full swing. You can bet on all your favorite teams. And they also have spreads. They've got props. They've got futures. They got in-game. Circa Sports simply has it all. So fund and bet like a pro from anywhere, anytime in Illinois. Maybe, I don't know, Thursday night football coming up right now. As I mentioned, Bears, Giants, Bulls off to that hot start. Blackhawks look pretty good. So download your new bookie today at circasports.com. Remember, you must be 21 plus or older. And if you have a gambling problem, you need to call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Mando. Whole body deodorant, safe to use anywhere, and I mean anywhere on your body. Pits, balls, thigh folds, belly buttons, butt cracks, and feet. Who wants a smelly belly button? You know, that can ruin your whole day. Clinically proven to block odor all day and control odor for up to 72 hours if you can't get to it. That's right. All products, baking soda-free and paraben-free. Choose from a variety of fresh scents like bourbon leather, clover woods, Mount Fuji, or Pro Sport. Would you rather have your belly button smell like a trash can, or would you rather have it smell like clover woods or bourbon leather? Mando Starter Pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream, tube deodorant, and 2 free products of your choice. Special offer for our listeners, 20% off site-wide with our exclusive code. Use CHGO shopmando.com for 20% off site-wide shopmando.com. Back on the CHGO Cubs podcast, Shota Imanaga is a free agent. Doesn't 100% mean he's not back with the Cubs next season or moving forward. His report card is on the way, but we're still kind of mixing through this. What is he worth? What chess pieces would they be moving if they didn't sign him? We mentioned Woodruff. We mentioned some other guys that are, Woodruff is the same age. Okay, Dylan Cease, right?
So I think we're getting.
If Cease is going to be out there, but now you factor in the Darvish injury, and
he's still a free agent regardless.
What kind of deal is Cease going to get? And will Cease's deal for certain be a better way of spending that money than Shota for 1 year 22 or Shota at 2 years 30 or 40? You know what I'm saying? Like, what number would be happy for everybody? I would assume Cease is getting a bigger deal.
Oh, 1,000%.
Younger.
Yes.
And we looked at ERA, and somebody in the chat, said, well, would you rather have his high ERA Cease, or would you rather have Shota, who has proven he can do it the last 2 years, outside of a frame after his hamstring injury? Now, he's had injuries too.
Okay, but I will say this, and again, guys, look, we have to think post. I gotta provide some optimism here, okay? We have to think postseason every single year because that's who the Chicago Cubs should be, and I think who they're going to be, okay? They are not going to have a payroll of 150, okay? You're right. Chicago Cub fans should riot if that's the case. I know the strike is looming or whatever. It's not guaranteed, but it's looming. I think, Luke, something has to give. They haven't give out deals that go past this next year, minus Dansby, but something has to give. You have to feel the team, right? So if you want a Schwarber, he's going to be a multi-year deal. You want Tucker to come back? It's a multi-year deal. You want Dylan Cease? It's a multi-year deal. Something has to give in that thinking, and I think it will, because again, they're not going to have a team of like $150 million. Also, I feel like you got to think postseason every single year. The Cubs have to think that they're going to be in the playoffs and the World Series. Would you rather have somebody starting like a Dylan Cease, who we saw was awesome against us, lights out against us, or Shota Imanaga? Even at his best, I think Dylan Cease at his best is a better playoff pitcher, and that's what you want on your staff.
Would you rather have Cease and Ray back for a year than Shota and upgrading to some other guy not as high as Cease? I don't know. I'll tell you this. If you told me easily that, okay, Shota's money and Kittredge's money, although they're going to suck, and Tucker are going to pull a lot of money out of that, knocking you down to like $165 million at the moment. Is that worth going and then getting Schwarber? Well, then, hey, I'm pushing my chips all in, and I'm willing to fill the rotation with a few more question marks, even though we saw that like dominant pitching in the postseason goes.
Yes.
But you hope Horton's back, and maybe you hope that Wiggins develops, and maybe you hope that Steele's. That's a lot of wishing and hoping, and we had a lot of wishing and hoping around here for the years before that. You finally made it back to the postseason. You were one decision or one player possibly away from moving on to the NLCS, one of the final four teams in baseball. What I don't want to see is this just be money pushed away and cleared off the books, and we're going to roll the dice on doing it Brewer style for 1 year until we don't know what the work situation is going to be.
And one more
that is the worst case scenario.
And one more thing I do want to say. I had a good friend of mine text me this morning. Oh, Cubs are cheap. I can't believe they're not picking up his option.
A lot of that.
And I said, bro, it's November 4th. Remember that. It's November 4th. I know we get paid to like talk about Cubs, but like it's November 4th. This is not the team that is going to be the opening day roster. There are many moves out there. Not just, we're talking about free agencies. How about trades? We have a lot of young kids that can't play all the outfield. But we can sign a Dylan Cease type pitcher, and then we can trade for somebody like a Sandy Alcantara, whoever it may be. There are many moves to be made. I trust that Jed's going to make them. Now, will they all pan out? Who knows? But this is not the team. We're not going to be two pitchers short going into March of next year. It's still very early.
Right. And Gary's saying, hey, it's not $57 million for 1 year. No, I'm just saying, like, if they're giving out a multiple year deal, they should be thinking 57 in a group for the next 3 years. Now, for 1 year, you'd still be taking $19 million off the books in Shota. You'd still be taking $9 million off the books in Kittredge.
17.5 in Tucker.
17.5 in Tucker. So that still adds up to a lot of money for players for next year. Am I willing to give it to all one player? Well, maybe,
the right one.
1.5,
the right one.
Depending on how much you're upgrading.
I keep seeing, and also to your point too, as well, is that like I think Cubs fans have gotten really used to the Cubs not signing players, right? And I think we're all on this podcast, and everyone hopefully in the chat is proactive that there is that other move coming where the Cubs do bring in more talent, and maybe it is more high price.
Other moves,
plural, please. I keep seeing I love the Dylan Cease thing. You just lob the little grenade of the 4.55 ERA. Just go to Baseball Reference and look up Justin Verlander's like second to last year in Detroit. He had an ERA right around there, and then guess what? Pitched for another 10 years and was awesome. Right around the exact same age. Guys can have off years, or the ERA can look a little crooked, and underlying numbers will definitely help play that out a little bit. The part that I'm kind of curious about, and I thought based on Jed's post-season press conference and what we've seen when we talk about the playoffs and the World Series, the one thing that I thought was maybe like a zag or a way that the trends might be going, where I thought the Cubs would get really invested and try and bring in 7, maybe even 8, 7 or 8 quality guys that could starting pitchers, because what did we see in the playoffs? We saw Chris Bassett come out of the bullpen, right? We saw a lot of starters being asked to come into game 3, game 4, game 5, instead of more of the reliever specialists that we've seen in the previous years. Unfortunately for us, and maybe this was the nail in the coffin for Shota, we couldn't even use the dude in a playoff series. We can't have that, right? We have to be able to have our starters also to be available to pitch a couple innings in the playoffs. And if you're the Cubs and you say to yourself, we don't spend a lot of money on the bullpen, well, you can spend that $4, $5, $6 million on a Colin Ray type to be your 7th-ish starter to cover several innings instead of always going to the specialist or find some guy that throws high heat. So the Shota move kind of flies in the face of that. I'd like to see what they do off of that, but it'd be like front of the rotation starter, fills out your rotation. Colin Ray's your 5. Javier Assad's your 6th. I always kind of thought and imagined they would bring in even another guy to create more starting pitching depth for, as you would say, injuries that can happen all the time. Or to cover more innings than a guy that only throws 8 or 9, 10 pitches, and then you got to give him a day off.
Yeah, the trick is, what's the next? The Cubs were ahead of it when they said, we're just going to spend like crazy in the international thing for a while. And we're going to go heavy on college players, and we're going to go heavy on hitting. What's the next big trend? So the current one has been, well, first of all, the regular season and the postseason are 2 totally different things. You want to ask somebody, ask the Brewers.
Yes.
Okay? Look at the 2 teams that were there, the Blue Jays and Dodgers. They had lots of those guys. You weren't getting tons of starts out of Scherzer. You weren't getting tons of starts. You got Bieber at the end. What will those types of players get? And at what point will some team go, you know what I'm going to do? Instead of having relievers, I might have 2 or 3 of those fireballer guys. I'm going to go all starters. And I'm only going to pitch them 4 innings. And it's going to be piggyback, piggyback, piggyback. And these guys are going to be healthier longer because they're only going to pitch 1.5 times through or 2 times through, and then they're done, no matter what.
45 pitches.
Even if they got a shutout going, I'm going to say, nope, you're done. Right. Because now this guy's getting his bullpen day, and then he's going to have a short start. And I don't know if it'd be an expensive way to do it, but sooner or later, some team's going to find a little loophole where they're going to try something a little bit different. I don't know if it's going to be the Cubs.
Like I would even say like Cease at 5 years, 150. Bieber at 3 years, 75. Pair him with Cade Horton, pair him with Boyd, pair him with Tyone, also have Ray, also have Assad, and maybe Justin Steele comes back in August. Right. And now you're cooking.
And
Jackson Wiggins. And now you're kind of cooking, right? And now you have that surplus. And if that surplus doesn't fit what you're trying to do, you can always trade, like you said, maybe a Jamison Tyone or a Javier Assad. Like there's different ways to do that than and they talk about rolling over the bullpen every year. And Kittredge isn't worth the $9 million. And I like Andrew Kittredge. I think he's a really solid pitcher. I don't think he's worth $9 million. Right. But maybe there's other ways to figure out how to spend that money that provides you a little bit more certainty in terms of depth with your pitching staff.
To piggyback about Kitty Cat, I kind of said this off.
All right, meow. We need less meow. We need more.
We got him from Baltimore. Okay, had a nice 3-month run or whatever. Yeah. He got to play in the postseason. And then we traded him back to Baltimore. Do you think that was kind of a handshake deal when we made it? Kind of like, hey, we're going to throw this guy a bone, get him some postseason action, and everything. We do want him back. Was there some kind of like maybe deal that happened within the deal, possibly?
Well, you mentioned that as we're just shooting it before the show, and I was like, I don't know, that's possible, right? That they were like, yeah, we'll give him back to you. Yeah, you can have that option.
Of all teams,
handshake deal, you're going to get the option at the end of the season.
Crazy,
and you're not going to. First of all, the Orioles are one of those teams that decimated by injuries, but they think they can be next year's Toronto.
Right.
They think they're right back in it next year. So it'll be interesting to see which players they do that with. Now,
and just really quick, did that Kittredge trade, did that put them over the luxury tax?
Not sure.
I don't know.
Sure. We'll see.
Oh, I don't think it did for the Cubs. Okay.
Oh, you mean the Cubs? No, of course not.
No, I'm just checking. Good. They got a little money back. Okay. But they're under the luxury tax? All right. Just checking.
Yeah, I would love 9 starters next year. That sounds good to me. Everybody throws 1 inning.
Yeah, now we're talking.
Postseason,
1 inning every day, 9 pitchers every day.
I love the out of left field thinking, but don't forget Yamamoto was a phenomenal starter, and he would go all 9 innings. There's something to be said about having that guy as well.
But he didn't have to do it in the regular season. So again, there's the difference between regular season and postseason. The Dodgers had they basically the same regular season the Cubs did.
Yeah.
But they're a different beast when they get healthy and are ready mostly for the postseason. You know who else was totally different in the regular season versus the postseason? Shota Imanaga. Yeah. So why not time for our 2025 CHGO Cubs report card for Mr. Imanaga? It very well may be his final report card in a Cubs uniform. We don't know. Or later at the end of the week, we might say he took 25. He took 22
million,
and he's back for next year.
He's singing in the shower.
We don't know. So I think we can have an overall grade, which is great. But I think let's at least break it down to, first, what did we each think of him for a regular season grade? And then what did you think of him as a postseason grade? One sample size is much larger. One sample size is much more recent and against high-level competition. Mm-hmm. All right, so Justin, what would you give Shota for his regular season grade?
His regular season grade, I believe I gave him a C because it was the tale of two halves. Mm-hmm. He was great in the first half. If he would have pitched the first half the entire time, I probably would have given him a B+. But he didn't have that. It was a great first half and then a pretty bad second half. Now, was it because of injury? Was it because of tipping pitches? Was it because he just tired out? I don't know. But I think I gave him a C across the board for the season to average it all out.
Joey, what do you think?
Regular season, a little bit more generous. I did go with a B-. Just the stats I keep coming back to that I've said to you on the show before. The first 12 starts, 6-3, 2.65 ERA. That sounded like the Shota of the year before, right? Mm-hmm. We were right on track. Yeah. And then that hamstring injury happens. You know, Jed Hoyer had mentioned at the time that Shota had never dealt with that injury before. They talked about it being maybe a couple turns, turned into 6 weeks. Came back, and as you correctly pointed out, it was super shaky, and then just flat out bad in September. I do keep going back to the 20 to 25 starts that he made this year. He went at least 5 innings, gave 3 runs or less. That's pretty solid, right? And when we talk about those bad first inning numbers and the home runs, the fact that whatever bad moment would happen to Shota, that he would really kind of mitigate and sort of lock it down from that point on, is a credit to him just being a gritty pitcher. Now, obviously, when we talk about a bad first inning, it always puts you behind the 8 ball. Yeah. The Chicago Cubs this year had an incredible record when they scored first in games. Mm-hmm. So that's antithetical to the formula that they used to win a ton of games this year. You never want to be playing from behind. So I'm gonna go B- for the regular season. And we'll do postseason in a second. But what do you have for regular season?
My regular season, I guess I'm super captain positive, as everybody always describes me. Boy, that guy's positive. I'm going to give him a B for the regular season. He still had an ERA, all said and done, 3.73, a 0.99 whip in 144 and 2/3 innings. Listen, almost every team in baseball would take that guy somewhere in their staff. He was the opening day pitcher sort of by default, right? Mm-hmm, he became that guy. You didn't have Steele. You didn't know what Boyd was going to be. Shota, Tyone, and Boyd, and Colin Ray all stepped up when Steele went down. All of them did. Now, like you said, I could have had Shota at 1A, 1B for my starter going into the season with hopes that Boyd and Tyone and all of the hopes and wishes that we have every offseason. But Shota was still that guy. Whether the wind was blowing in, I don't know. I don't care which way the fan was blowing, for the Cubs that day. For the regular season, a 3.73 with a whip below 1, every team in baseball would take that somewhere in their rotation.
100%.
I just believe it, and especially at what they were getting him for. The thing that scares me again is I know the postseason was bad, but it's a way smaller sample size against much better teams. You still need some guy to eat 144 innings. Mm-hmm. You still need the Tyone. Like everybody rails on Tyone. I need somebody that's going to do that.
Right.
If I can get him a little overpriced for $22 million, I'm not afraid of that as much as I am 3 for $57 on a guy that's 32 and at times gives up a lot of home runs, but still a B regular season.
The only counter I have, Luke, is that, and see, I saved you. I knew you were going to cough, so I saved him.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I saw it coming. No, but the only thing I'll say is
you're windy.
You're right.
The counter cough.
Postseason was a small sample size, but we have a greater sample size with the second half of the season.
Yeah.
So when you put all those things together, we have a decent sample size of Shota just being flat out bad after the injury until the end of the season. So,
but was it the injury?
Yeah,
I don't know. That's the thing.
That's why I'm saying regular season. There's at least the chance that he was hurt, and that's why it was bad. Yeah. And so when he was, I just know that when he wasn't hurt, which was most of the season, he was good. He was good.
Yep. Yeah, and it was just shaky, right? Let's just stick to ERA because it's easy to understand. In July, 4.32 ERA. In August, though, 2.65. And then in September, just ballooned to 6.51, whip 1.23, which was obviously a lot higher than the under 1 whip that he had the rest of the year. So I get it. Like, it's tough, right? When you look at the age, you look at the pitch profile, and you mentioned this before. He doesn't throw gas, right? On a good day, he maybe throws 94. Really counts on that slider a lot, and really counts on pitching inside and keeping the ball down to keep it out of the air. It's a big thing for him. But he was pretty solid this year. It's just that he careened off the cliff, and the car exploded like in the television show, and not just September, but also in the playoffs. And the bummer about it too is that we all sat here and said, look, track record. I trust Shota. Bad September. No big deal. Still give him the ball. And we gave him the ball, and then the playoffs.
Home run.
That car. Right off the cliff.
Another one.
And so let's move over to it. In terms of playoffs, right? I'm with a lot of people in the chat. Like, I hate to do it too because I like the player, but how do you not? I mean, I'm giving him an F for the playoffs, right? It was an epic, complete, utter, unequivocal, across the board fail. He was unusable. The moments that you were terrified about, he let them come to reality and into fruition, right? We're worried about him against right-handed hitting and Manny Machado, so we're going to use an opener. The next time up, he lets him face Manny Machado. Boom, see you later. Against the Brewers, right? William Contreras, boom, see you later. We can't use him again in a Game 5. One of the guys that we counted on that was even, one of the opening day starters in Japan.
So you're jumping ahead to the postseason grade.
I'm jumping to the postseason grade.
We can't forget the regular. So Montana Shy says in the chat, he was dealing with an injury he never dealt with before. Of course he's going to say he can pitch. Might not have been 100%, but without him, we aren't even making the postseason. That I agree with.
It's true.
Then he also says, what starter do we have that throws gas? Let's go. Come on, guys.
Kate Horton?
LOL. Well,
throws gas.
Also, that's a reason they may be moving on. They want more guys that throw gas, and he doesn't throw gas.
Joey, I feel like I've done this podcast with you probably maybe 3 months now, and your favorite word is velocity.
Yeah.
You say it a lot. And we don't have velocity, and Shota is not velocity. Kate Horton is.
We don't hit it, and we need to pitch it more.
Yeah, Dylan Cease is.
What it is
so that could, Shota's profile as a starting pitcher, if the regular season was great, last year and the first half of this past year, but like the postseason was not, and velocity I think wins. If you're a crafty old pitcher, whatever, you can't be giving up bomb after bomb after bomb, and that did us in, and we couldn't even trust the guy in Game 5 of our last game of the season.
All right, so what is your postseason grade?
Well, I guess I'm a little nicer than Joey.
I'm not being nice.
I'm going D-.
And that's just in general, or
in life? In life, I'm nicer.
Top to bottom.
Yeah, D-. I mean,
D-.
I think you guys, if you're listening now, you know I was very disappointed in Shota. I know he had a bad second half, but I thought maybe playoffs we get last year's Shota back. We never got it. Council didn't even trust him. He used an opener his first start. Didn't work out great. Gives him a meatball to Machado. And then the game in Milwaukee was just, we needed him so bad that game, and he absolutely blew it. And they couldn't even use him for Game 5. So I guess I probably should have done F, but I'm a nicer guy, a D-, but it was bad.
I went D- too. I mean, the offseason was cover your eyes bad. It just, or the postseason, not offseason, was cover your eyes bad. I saw Vince in the live YouTube chat, one of our diehards. He was at that game for the watch along, and we were at Old Crow, and we're sitting there. And
punches the first two guys out.
He did the sicko check-in. And I said, I kind of looked back at him, and then I looked at you guys over there, and I was like, I don't know if I want to say what I'm thinking. But I was thinking, if he gives up a home run here, this will be the deflation of all deflation. And boom, there it goes. And he, showed us doing one of those where he hangs it out there, and then he's like, was that the wrong pitch? Yes, it was the wrong thing. Pitch. Yes, that's not what we wanted. So I gave him a D-, as close to an F as you can get. An F, you've just got to not try. He was trying. He hadn't, whether it was the injury, whether it was tipping pitches, whether it was both, he was terrible in the postseason. So what about your overall grade then? Where do you mix that in?
Overall grade, I go C- because, we're only talking about one half of good baseball out of him. And then the second half, I wasn't great, and the postseason was atrocious. And guys, why do we play baseball? Why do we love baseball? Why do we cover baseball? It's all about getting to the postseason and doing well in the postseason. So I'm giving almost like a weighted grade to my D- because that's when it mattered the most. and that's when he failed the most. So overall, I think I gave him a pretty lenient C-.
I like this comment here. Light Giving 2051. Just want to tell you all that Japanese pitchers are told to use their lower half a lot and usually runs a lot in the offseason. The hamstring probably did do him in. By the way, yeah, look, I mean,
cool point.
Yeah, no, that's very fair. That's an interesting insight. I hope also that if you're going to have that opinion, that you also believe then we should pay Kyle Tucker $500 million. No, I'm serious though, right? Yeah. Like we can't have the double standard. We all know Kyle Tucker was not 100%. So I think that should also be giving him the grace in that conversation too as well.
He's not Japanese though.
What's that?
He's not Japanese.
Yeah, that's
they don't train with the lower half of their body.
We all should use our lower half here.
We're all about beach muscles. Just pecs and arms.
That's it, man.
With our tiny little chicken legs. You should see us underneath this table. Yeah. It's unbelievable.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
Six little sticks.
I walk around.
I'm not wearing pants right now. What? No, I'm kidding.
It's unbelievable. Overall grade, I'm also going C- too as well. It's just a disappointing season for Shota. I still like him a lot. Yeah. And I see a lot of people in the chat being like, this isn't the reason he's worth this money. This isn't the reason he's worth that money. Let's see if this loads up one more time. But when you talk about number 4, number 5 starters in baseball right now, you still have to pay them a certain amount of money, and it usually starts at least $14, $15 million. Like, I'm just going to throw some names at you that made money last year. Jordan Montgomery made $22 million. Chris Bassett made $22 million. Yusei Kikuchi, $21 million. Let's see, Luis Servino, $20 million. Jose Barrios, $19 million. Tyone, $18 million.
Doesn't he fit into this group?
Michael Waka, $18 million. Tawan Walker, $18 million. None of these guys are front of the rotation guys. Frankie Montas, who you mentioned earlier on in the show, Kyle Freeland, Mitch Keller, Alex Cobb, Seth Lugo. These are all middle of the rotation guys, all making at least $16 million a year. That is the market. I get we can go back and forth on it's too much money and Shota doesn't deserve it. It's what the market is. It's where it's at. Right. So if you're not going to be willing to give Shota that money, I'm hoping that you're going to be willing to give someone of that ilk that same type of money, whether it is the Merrill Kellys or whatever it is
Kevin
in the world.
Says Merrill Kelly will be the big off-season signing.
No, you better be the small one.
What if it was 3 to 57 for Merrill Kelly and it was the same deal? You know what it wouldn't include? A no-trade clause, which I still think was the one thing that the Cubs looked at and said, no.
And Merrill Kelly's 37. You know what I mean? Like a lot of these guys.
He's not going to get 3 years.
Right. No.
So, but can you get him on a shorter deal and get the same type of production you got out of Shota for most of the season as a 4 or 5?
And the market's going to be crazy too. You don't know where the market's going. Like there could be some things that come back to us because of players scrambling for long-term deals or longer-term deals or whatever. We'll see how it plays out. Luke, what's your grade?
It's the same thing. It's a C-. We're all C-. I think we all know it was below average. The question is whether or not a C- is worth 3 years, 57. It's whether or not the answer has been said no. Mm-hmm. Is it worth $15 million for 1 year? The answer has been said no by the player. Now the question is, well, is a C- worth gambling $22 million in a potential qualifying offer? We don't know that yet.
Well, and just looking at the pitching market in the Cubs aspect, they gave Matthew Boyd a 2-year contract worth $15 million AAV off of Tommy John surgery in 2023 and a shoulder surgery in 2024. He only pitched 39 innings in 2024 and got $30 million. Shota at least pitched the entire season, and maybe he ran into a hamstring issue. Like, there's worse players you're signing.
The end of 2024 for Matthew Boyd was phenomenal in the postseason.
It's 39 innings.
But he crushed it in the postseason.
It's 39 innings, though. I mean, you're giving that guy $30 million to maybe pitch.
Zips thought he was going to pitch 40 innings. I'm with Sean
on that. And that's the one. It's the 144 innings.
Shota wasn't hurt. He just wasn't good enough to perform.
But that's so funny. It's the flip, right?
It's the flip. It's the opposite of Matthew Boyd. It's the complete opposite of Matthew Boyd because he was a stud in the postseason for Cleveland, and Shota was horrible for us.
But Shota pitched 144 innings, and then he was bad in the end. Boyd gives you nothing in the beginning, but he gave you good in the end. Right. But it's still, that's what the going rate is.
Boyd was also a much more serious injury than a guy trying to bounce back from a hamstring in the offseason too. So if that's the case. So I'll ask you this. We only got like a minute and a half left. We could go on about Shota for 6 months, and we might. And I should point out that you guys will be doing the podcast tomorrow, and who knows, we might have a qualifying offer to talk about tomorrow, or we might know that the Cubs are not going to do it. That might leak out.
And he takes the qualifying offer. We're like, we love Shota, A+.
We changed the grade.
For the record, actually, I am of the camp of offer him the qualifying offer, and if he does accept on a 1-year deal, I have no problem him being a number 5 with that money.
Okay, quick answer: yes or no? Will the Cubs regret letting Shota walk if it ends up being that?
No.
Yes.
I lean towards yes, but not at 3 for 57. Just at like if they just let him walk and that's what happens. I think they might regret that. Kittredge, I don't think so. Kittredge, I don't think they'll regret.
Oh, they're rolling it over $9 million. Sorry, kitty cat.
Oh, man.
Go get your litter back in Baltimore.
You know what's great? It's only November 4th, and there are a lot of options for turnover on a Cubs team that went to the playoffs but certainly has room for improvement. We're going to be here. By the way, if that qualifying offer happens, you can find it on our Twitter. You can find it on our Instagram. You can find it on our social media, all of those things. So keep it right here. Thanks for checking out the CHGO Cubs podcast presented by our friends at Toyota. These two Emmy winners and national stars will be here tomorrow at 2 o'clock for you. And then I'll be back on Thursday. Maybe lots of stuff will have happened before then. Until then, thanks for watching and fly the W.
We all silly like the mayor.